Today, the National Prosecuting Authority failing to meet a crucial deadline. The prosecuting authority had until today to file its opposing affidavit as the Democratic Alliance pushes to reinstate corruption charges against President Zuma. Reporter Karen Morn is tracking that story for us and joins us on Newsnight. So what did the NPA have to provide?
Well, essentially, this is really the meat of this incredibly crucial case. Remember that the President and the NPA have been fighting tooth and nail at every single step over the last 6 years to stop the DA from even being allowed to bring this review in the first place. Remember, Jeremy, extremely protracted fight over access to the spy tapes finally resolved last year. Now the DA wants to get into the meat of this. They want to get into the meat of why they say this was an irrational decision. And they want the NPA to respond and defend that decision to withdraw the corruption charges against Jacob Zuma. Now, this is not the first time the NPA has failed to meet a deadline. They failed in January and they failed again, I think, in February, to the point where the DA actually went to court and said, if you do not respond, we're going to seek an unopposed order against you and we're going to get this order. And it was only after that that the NPA agreed to this court order deadline and was supposed to file today. Well, they haven't done it
so
yet.
No doubt you've spoken to the NPA or sources within the NPA. What do they say?
Well, they're saying that they hope to file by midnight tonight. Remember, of course, that the normal court convention is that they filed by 4 o'clock today. So certainly they have gone and broken the parameters of the deadline.
But technically, they might still be within. They might still be able to scrape in with a midnight filing.
Well, they might be able to scrape in. We've spoken to Willie Hofmeyer from the AFU. Of course, he was one of the crucial role players in that initial decision to withdraw the charges against President Jacob Zuma. He's saying that they hope to file by midnight, but as yet, no certainty as to whether that will happen.
It doesn't answer the question as to why they haven't already done it.
Well, that is the huge issue. And the DA, spoken to James Solve, hugely frustrated by this, particularly given this background of failure to file on at least 2 different occasions. He's saying that the DA will go to court tomorrow if there is a failure to file on the part of the NPA and will seek a contempt of court order against the NPA.
Is this a deliberate strategy of prevarication?
I think that anyone with a knowledge of the history of this case would say so. Because remember that when Jacob Zuma was involved in the initial litigation over the corruption charges, his lawyer, Kemche Kemp, famously said that he would adopt what he termed a Stalingrad approach to the case. We will fight them in every room, in every street, in every house. Now remember that Jacob Zuma himself had a history of when the charges were proceeding against him, taking every technical point. We seem to see that pattern replicated in his attitude to this case, and unfortunately, one would argue, in the NPA's attitude as well.
So you've spoken to the DA. They've got a strategy should this midnight filing not happen. Having said that, though, what legal recourse is there, or what legal censure could the NPA fail if they don't deliver on this midnight deadline?
Well, they would have a contempt of court order against them.
But what would that mean?
It could mean that certain officials involved in this could face the wrath of the law. It would be very unusual, but given the history of this matter, you may see a judge making some quite dramatic gesture in the courtroom. I think everyone will try and avoid that, and I think the DA at this point is just desperate to get something on record so that they can persist with this matter to be argued, and they can get an affidavit from the President about this matter, and they can go to court in June and argue it.
What's the presidency saying?
They haven't said anything as yet. Remember, they have until the 15th of April to file their affidavit on this application.
How long can this spin out before we eventually know the truth?
I think, given that this has gone on for 6 years, you may very well see a scenario where the DA gets that order in a high court or doesn't. Then both sides will appeal. I think it'll end up in the Constitutional Court, and I think it will be some time before this issue is resolved.
eNCA reporter Karen Morn, thank you very much.